class, the first thing you need to do is you need to go to aplusstudents.com. You need to go to the website. Once you're on the website, you need to select math as your subject. This is a grade 8 maths lesson, and the topic for today is data and graph. Data and graph. Okay. I'll give you the chapter number. Just a moment, please. 24 and 15. The chapter number is 24 and the lesson number is 15. And the name of the lesson is Circle Graphs and Central Angles. Okay, let's go to maths grade 8. Okay, grade 8 maths chapter number 24 and lesson number 15. See, the first thing we need to remember is the circle graphs are also known as pie charts. So if somewhere they're using the term pie charts, just remember circle graphs and pie charts are the same thing. Okay, basically what happens in a pie chart is we know that a circle is made up of how many degrees of angle? A circle is made up of 360 degrees of angle, right? Okay, let's suppose we would say, okay, let's do one thing. There was a pizza that is to be shared amongst friends, right? So what we say is there were 8 slices. 8 slices, and there were 3 friends. Okay, let's do this. That means in this pizza, if there were 8 slices, the friend number A ate 4 slices. Okay, the friend number B ate a single slice, and friend number C ate 3 slices, right? We know that if we need to find the value for A, right? So what we say is for A, we can say A ate 4 out of 8, right? For B ate 1 out of 8, right? And C was 3 out of 8. But we also know that a circle is made up of 360 degrees, right? We agree on that, right? A circle is always completed by a 360. So we can say 4 upon 8 of 360, right? So when we say 4 upon 8 of 360, that 4 upon 8 is basically half, right? That means this would be 180 degree angle. So we can say A has a 180 degree angle. What about B? We can say 1/8 of 360, right? So we can simply write 360 divided by 8. It comes out to be 45 degrees, right? So we can say the angle for B is 45 degrees, right? We can find the value of C, but what we can also say is we know that the sum of the 3 angles in or any angles in a circle would always be 360, right? So we can also say that A plus B plus C would be 360. Agreed? We know the angle for A, that is 180. The angle for B is 45. We need to find the angle for C, that is 360, right? Okay, so we can add them together. This becomes 225. 360 minus 225 would be the angle for C, right? So 360 minus 225 comes out to be 135. Agreed? We can say that this angle will come out to be 135 degrees. We can do it through the addition of the angles because we know the sum, or we can do through this method also. 360, that means 3 multiplied by 360 divided by 8 would come out to be 135. Okay, so a pie chart is basically the representation of data in a circular pattern, right? In a circle. Okay, so let's look at a question. Okay, let's have a look at a question and let's see, okay, what we can do in this. Okay, what there could be different requirements for different questions. Okay, so let's look at this circle graph. And this circle graph shares this information to us. If there were these many coins, okay, if this was the question, this is our question number 1. Matt recently emptied his coin jar and counted the coins, right? So half of his coins were copper coins, right? 1/4 of the coins were gold coins, and 1/4 of the coins were silver coins, right? We can always confirm, that means half was copper plus half 1/4 was gold plus 1/4 was a silver, right? When we add them together, it should come out to be 4 upon 4. That should be equals to 1. 1 is a complete, 1 is a whole, right? That means the total of the fractions should be 1 and the sum of the angles should be 360, right? Okay. So what they're asking us in this question is, if there were 24 coins in all, there were 24 total coins, right? Okay. How many more copper coins than gold coins were there in the jar? Okay, let's see how we can do this question. If the total number of coins were 24, that means if we had to, they're just asking us how many more copper coins than gold coins. That means we need to find the copper and the gold. So we know that copper coins were half of 24. That means copper coins were 12 coins. Agreed? Because it was half the angle. It was half the ratio. Agreed? Then we see gold coins. How many gold coins were there? Gold coins were 1/4 of the total. That means gold coin comes out to be 6 coins. Agreed? So if we need to find the difference between the gold coins and the copper coins, right? So can we say copper coins subtract the gold coins? So we will get the difference, right? The copper were 12 minus the 6 gold. That means their difference was 6 coins. There were 6 more. There are 6 more copper coins than gold coins, right? If gold was 6 and copper was 12, that means copper is 6 more, right? So this is the statement we give as an answer, and there are a lot of things that we can process from a pie chart or a circle graph. Okay. Okay. Moving ahead to the next question. The next question says, a sports goods store records its yearly revenue in each category of goods they sell, right? And let me just copy it on the screen. This was our question number 1. Let's say this is our question number 2. Okay. This is our question number 2. Yearly revenue. Okay. If this is our question number 2, it says a sporting goods store in Cedarburg records its yearly revenue in each category of goods. They're selling racket sports 2 out of 7, baseball 2 out of 7, camping 2 out of 7, and swimming 1 out of 7, right? In which category the revenue was the lowest? The lowest sales. Lowest sales would mean the smallest angle. See, I'll just write it over here. Lowest would mean if the angle is given smallest angle or smallest ratio. Agreed? So which value had the smallest ratio? We can see that swimming is 1 upon 7 and all of the other values are 2 upon 7, right? So we can say swimming had lowest revenue. Okay? And this would be your answer. Do we agree on this? Any questions up till now? Kindly ask me if there are any questions so that I would be able to explain them. Okay, good. Let's move ahead. It says a plant nursery, okay, has a record of, okay, they are keeping a record of plants. That would be annual plants, monthly or weekly, right? So let's see what we can say over here is this was the information that was given to us. Okay. And I'll just copy this again. Okay. For the question number 3, it states that there are 3 types of plants: annuals, perennials, and perennials. Okay. So the angles are given to us. Annuals were 25, perennials were 40, perennials were 35, right? So in the if the nursery has a total of 80 plants, right? How many perennials does it have? See, if we are talking about percentages, if we talk about percentages, the total should be 100%, right? A was 25% plus B, we need to confirm this, that was 40% plus C, that was 35%. So can we say this side come 25 plus 40 is 65, 65 plus 5 is 70, 70 plus 30 is 100%, right? That means we can say that the total is 100%. Now what we need to do is, if the 100% was equals to 80 plants, right? We have 2 ways of doing this question. We can say percentage and we can say plants. Okay. If we say 100% was equals to 80 plants, right? Then what do we need to find? Biennials, right? And they were 40%. So the 40% should be the variable X. That's what we need to find, right? And whenever we are doing the ratio method, we cross multiply the values. So what we can say is 100 is multiplied by X and 80 is multiplied by 40, we can say x is equals to 80 multiplied by 40 divided by 100. Since we can see two pairs of zeros, right? 0 is cancelled with a 0, 0 is cancelled with a 0. That means x would be 8 multiplied by 4, and 8 multiplied by 4 should be 8 times 4, 16 and 32, right? That means 32 plants. Okay, this is what we say the comparison method, the ratio method. Okay, we can solve any ratio through this, but we need to have one given ratio. Okay, but in this case, what they give us, 100% was given to us, that was 80 plants in total. Okay, are we clear on this, or do we have any questions? If we have any questions, please do let me know. Okay, good. Let's move ahead. So the next question we have is this, and okay, next page. Question number 4. The question number 4 states this information. Just a moment. Just a moment, please. I'll just realign this. Okay. This is our question number 4. Spencer, who has saying two different fruit trees in his yard, he kept track of how many fruits he picked this year, right? So he has two trees, oranges and nectarines. Okay. So what we can say is 1/3 of the fruits were oranges and the remaining were 2/3, right? Okay. He is saying if Spencer picked a total of 78 pieces of fruit, right? This is the given information. 78 pieces of fruit. That means there were 78 fruits. Then oranges were 1/3 of 78. Agreed? So we can simply write 78 divided by 3. That means there were 26 oranges. Okay. For the next value, nectarines, what we can say is they were 2/3 of the total, right? That means 8, 2. Okay. That comes out to be 52. But I would say the easier way to solve this is O plus N should be equal to 78, right? Oranges we know, that means 78 minus 26. Nectarines will come out to be 52. We can do in this way as well because we have the total quantity and we know that there are simply two quantities. If we know the first quantity, we subtract from the total and we find the second quantity, right? Okay. What I'm trying to say is we can find this value through this, or we can simply do the sum of the total. Okay. So the question they're asking us is how many more nectarines than oranges did he pick? Okay. So we find the difference, and the difference would be 52 minus 26. He picked 26 more nectarines than oranges. Okay, agreed. So there are several ways to do a question. Okay, or I could have simply said that since oranges were 1/3 and these were 2/3, that means this is 1/3, 1/3, right? And this is 1/3. That means if this 1/3 was equated with this, then this would be the extra 1/3. We directly find the extra 1/3. 1/3 of 78 will be 26. We can do through the ratios, we can find the values, and then we can subtract also, right? There are multiple approaches to do a single question in a circle graph, okay? So let's have a look at the next question. Okay, there's a beauty salon and sorry. This is question number 5, and they're asking us this information. So the beauty salon has total of 3 beauticians, and they keep a track of how often clients request each. So the names of the beauticians are Edel, Sanjay, and Kiara, right? Kiara, Edel, and Sanjay, okay? The salon got 60 requests in all. The total of this would be 60. How many of them were from Adel, right? So we can say Adel was 30% of the total request. Agreed? That means 30% of 60. And we know that whenever we remove the percentage sign, we divide by 100, multiply by 60. If we see common zeros, we can cancel them out. And finally, we would be left with 3 multiplied by 6. That means Adel was requested 18 times specifically, right? We found the number of times the person A was, or you can use 30 as 0.3. You multiply by 60 and you get the same answer, right? So rather than multiplying with a decimal, what I prefer doing is I prefer removing the percentage sign and putting 100. Okay, this is much easier. Okay, let's see the next question. We can say Adel had 18 requests. Okay, moving ahead to the next question. The next question says, okay, it's about customers and their favorite breads. Okay, let's see. Okay. Question number 6. Which bread received more votes? This would be our question number 6. Sorry, just a moment, please. This is our question number 6. They're saying there are 2 types of breads. There could be a wheat bread and there could be a potato bread, right? There we just simply need to find which kind of a bread was preferred by the people, right? Which bread received more votes? That means more the area, more choices, right? That means more people chose it. Or we can say this was 3/5 of the total, and this was simply wheat was 2/5, right? That means this share was 3/5, and this share was simply 2/5, right? So the more the ratio you have, right? We can say 3 upon 5, that is potato, is greater than 2 upon 5, right? This was potato and this was wheat, right? Therefore, potato bread got more votes, right? Or we can say, or what we can say is potato had a greater area, thus more votes, right? The greater the area, the greater the value. So we have multiple ways of finding the approach, or I would do like we break the shape into multiple segments and then we say that, oh, potato had 3 out of 5, whereas wheat only has 2 out of 5, right? So 3 is always greater. Okay, do we agree on this? Thank you. Let's move ahead to the next question. A Rail County state agent, they're talking about selling a house in 3 different areas. So question 6, question number 7. Okay, let me just realign this. Okay, for this question, question number 7, it said in the question that a real estate agent evaluated the number of houses sold this year in each town in a county, right? So in Greenville, I'll just highlight this 35. That was 40%. Let me rewrite. Narrowwood, that is 40%, and Westford is 25%. Okay. Which is the which list is arranged from the city with the fewest houses? We just did that in the previous question. Potato had the greater area, thus there were more votes, right? Bigger the area, bigger the votes in the previous question. Bigger the area, more the sales. So in this case, larger area would be equal to larger slash more sales. Agreed? Depending on our requirement of the question, we categorize it. So which one has we wish to look at fewest, the least houses sold, right? With the most. Okay, we need to give it till a list of areas from least to the most, right? So can we say this was 25%, right? So can we say this is the least? So the least would be Westford. Agreed. What should be the most? We have two options. The areas look kind of similar, but we still have the angles next to it. This was 35 and this was 40. The 40 should be most, right? Therefore, the middle value should be Greenville and the most should be Narrowwood, right? Or Norwood, sorry, Norw, Norwood. Okay, so we were just simply asked which list is arranged. Arrange a list. That means Westford has the least, this was the least, and this was the most. Okay, that means this is the ascending order. Whenever we go from the smaller number to the larger number, that is called ascending order. Okay. Okay, let's have a look at another question, another example. We'll try to do maximum number of examples before we go to the question, okay? Okay, they are talking about ice cream in the next question. and it says an ice cream shop in Lexington sells a variety of different flavors and keeps a track of weekly sales. Just a moment. We say this is our question number 8. Okay, I'll just bring it up over here so that, okay, the ice cream shop serves 20 scoops. Okay, how many of the scoops were cookies and cream? This was our question number 8. So they are saying that 50% of the ice cream sales were Rocky Road and 50% of the sales were cookies and cream, right? Because they're saying 50% and 50%, right? How we can tell it's 50%? Because it's a straight line, and a straight line is always made up of 180 degrees. If this was 180, then this part would also be 180, because the total sum of the circle angles in a circle is always 360, right? The ice cream shop served 20 scoops, right? If they serve 20 scoops, then half of the, see, the total was 20 scoops. So how many scoops were there of cookies and cream? Let's see. Cookies and cream. So cookies and cream was 50% of the total, right? That means 50% of 20 scoops. 50%, whenever we remove the percentage sign, we divide it by 100, multiply by 20. That means if we have common zeros, we can cancel them out. And what are we left with? That means 10 scoops for cookies and cream. Do we agree on this? From the given circle graph, we found out the information, but information provided is also very important. Based on the given information, we can only find if the percentages were given 50% and 50%, and if the total number was not given, then we cannot find, right? Okay, let's take the same question. I'll copy the same question and I'll try to change something in this question, okay? Okay, I'm just copying the same over here. So that's it's on our screen. Let's suppose we write this as question number 9. I'm changing this question, this part. Okay, let's see how we can do this. Okay, if there were 16 scoops of Rocky Road, find the total number of scoops of sales, right? Total number of scoops sold. See, if I say Rocky Road was, this Rocky Road was 50% of total, right? And that was how many scoops? That was 16 scoops. We do not know the total. The total is missing, right? We need to find the total. Let's suppose we say total is X, is a variable, right? Can we say 50% of X would be 16, right? And 50% can be written as 50 upon 100 multiplied by X is equals to 16. Can we simplify? I can do this directly as well, but I'm trying to show you all the steps. So what we do is X becomes 16 multiplied by 100 divided by 50. And we know that 5 times 1 is 5 and 5 times 2 is this. So we can say the value of x comes out to be 16 multiplied by 2, that is 32. Agreed? And that's exactly what we had to find. The total comes out to be 32 scoops. Agreed? So from the given information, we can always find any variable, right? So what I did was the same question, I changed the requirement. Okay, let's have a look at another question. The next question says, okay, okay, the students who graduate, it's about a university. Question number 10. Let's just put this over here. Okay, this will be question number 10. Just a minute, please. If these are the students who are graduating, how many more graduates were magna cum laude from summa cum laude? Okay, the students who graduate from prestigious universities, right? They use that. This is the terminology that is used for them. Okay, let's say this and this. Okay, so can we say that honors if 95, they're saying if 95 graduates receive honors in all, the total number of these three types of students were, this was 1/5 summa cum laude is and magna cum laude. So these were the three categories, right? CSM, I'll just abbreviate it. This is C, S, and M, right? Magma. So if the total graduates were 95, how many more graduates were magna than summa? Okay, so summa was 1/5 of 95, right? So can we say summa is 1/5 of 95? What is 1/5 of 95? That is 19 graduates. Okay, and what about magna? Magna was 3/5 of the total, right? That was 95. That should be 50 something. Sorry. 3 into 95 divided by 5, 57. Yeah. Right? Well, these were 57. The question is, how many more were the graduates, right? So difference would be magna minus summa. So magna were 57 minus 19, and I think the total comes out to be 38. So the difference between the graduates was 38 grads. That means magna had 38 more students graduating. Okay, do we agree? So let's try some questions from the test. Let's do the test together. I'll write down the test. Let's see. I'm just going to the, we can do the questions together. Okay. Or I can do a few, whatever is left, you do it later. Okay. Okay, sorry, just a minute. I need to log in. Grade 8, chapter number 24, and lesson number 15, I think. Yes, 15 and test. So the first question says, just a moment, please. Let me copy this. Customers as a shopping center, they had breads. Okay, they wanted to by breads. We need to find the favorite of the breads. Okay, this is our question number one. And they're asking us which bread received more votes, the potato or the wheat? Can anyone give me the answer? The customers at a shopping center were questioned about their favorite breads. The wheat was 2/5. Wheat says 2/5, while potato is 3/5, right? That means the greater the area, I'll write down the statement, I'm not giving you the answer. Greater the area, right, is would be equal to more value or choice, right? More value or choices. Agreed? You can say value, choices, numbers, and different variables over here. So what should be the answer? What, which bread receive more votes? Potato or wheat? Which has greater area? Or we can say area or ratio as well. Greater the ratio, the more it is, right? So which one has more ratio? Wheat was just 2/5, right? Whereas potato was 3/5. Thank you. That's correct. What we can say is, since potato had more, that means potato is the correct answer. Thank you. Okay, let's move ahead. Let's look at the next question. Okay, no worries. Take your time to answer, right? Because we are doing tests so that we know what you understood and where you had difficulties. Okay. For question number two, from the test, says there's a law firm. Okay, this would be our question number two. And they're saying a law firm in Hillsborough kept track of how many hours were billed by each partner last year. Okay, I'll just put it on the side so that I'm allowed to increase the size, which would make it readable. Okay. Which partner billed most hours? There were two partners, Kendall and Nick. So I just told you, right? The greater the area or greater the ratio, the greater would be the value, right? They're talking about the partner who billed most votes, most, right? Sorry, not the votes, billed the maximum number of hours. So who has more area? Yes, thank you. Since we can see Kendall has the ratio 3/5, Nick was just 1/5, and Toby was 1/5. So the greater the ratio, the more the area. Yes, Kendall is the correct answer, right? Thank you. Let's move ahead. Let's click on the screen. Let's say Kendall, and by chance, if we do an incorrect, it would always, the website would show us the incorrect, that it's incorrect, and would give us the correct answer as well, right? So if we make an error, always wait for the explanation. Okay. Okay, the next one we have is this. Let me just put it down over here. Okay, they're talking about favorite sandwiches. Just a moment, please. Let me realign this so that it's much more readable for us. Okay. For question number three states that Lakeside Juniors High students were asked about their favorite sandwiches. So some of them said tuna salad and some of them said meatballs. I'm not giving you the value, okay? I'm not saying it out loud. If 60 people were surveyed, how many people voted for meatball. Can I have the answer? See, we know the total, right? We know the total is 60. Agreed? The total was 60. We have to find for meatball. Just look at the percentage for meatball. So what should be the answer? Option number A or option number B? The students who selected meatball were 45% of the total. And we have been given the value of the total, right? Yes, thank you. 27 should is the correct answer. How? We say we say 45% of the total 60. Either you write 45 upon 100 into 60 or you write 0.45 into 60. Your answer is 27, right? Okay. So we select 27. Please do complete the remaining questions, okay? Practice as many questions as you can so that you'll have a better understanding of what you understood and where there are problems, right? So I hope this was a good lesson and you take care, complete the test.